Infiniti has always felt like the quieter cousin at the luxury car family reunion. It borrows lots of parts, engineering, and corporate DNA from Nissan, but it tries to talk softer, wear a nicer suit, and offer a slightly more indulgent driving experience. That positioning has worked for many buyers. Infinitis are often well-built, comfortable, and satisfying to drive, but it also explains most of the truths that trip people up when they buy one used. They can be bargains that hide expensive surprises. They depreciate faster than some rivals, and certain model years and components are worth extra scrutiny. If you're thinking about a used Infiniti, here's what you really need to know, straight and practical. What to love, what to watch, and how to buy one without getting burned. First, the good stuff, because it matters. Drive one, and you'll notice why people are drawn to Infiniti. Many of their cars and SUVs pair lively engines with cushioned, quiet cabins and attractive interiors. The older G-Series and M or Q sedans, for example, offered real performance for the money. Later Q-Series and QX SUVs brought nicer tech and creature comforts without the sticker shock of some German competitors. If you like a taut chassis, without the overtly firm ride that performance brands insist on, Infiniti frequently hits that sweet spot. They typically feel more driver-focused than the mass-market Nissans of the same era. And for many buyers, that difference alone makes a used Infiniti worth considering. But the truth isn't just the parts you love, it's the parts that cost you later. On average, owning an Infiniti isn't wildly expensive, but it's not cheap either. Independent cost analyses and ownership tracking sites show Infiniti owners pay a noticeable but manageable amount on maintenance and repairs over a year. According to RepairPal, the average annual maintenance cost for Infiniti vehicles is around $638, which works out to roughly $50 to $55 per month, slightly higher than Lexus at about $551 per year, but below BMW's $968 average. That figure, however, doesn't include wear and tear items like tires or brakes, which can easily add another $600 to $800 per year depending on how and where you drive. Routine oil changes at dealerships tend to run between $100 and $160, while brake pad replacements can cost $300 to $450 per axle, and major repairs, like transmission work or timing chain replacements, can quickly climb past $3,000 to $5,000. That's important because the bargain sticker price on a used Infiniti can evaporate quickly if a major component fails, turning what looked like a smart buy into a sudden financial headache. There are a few recurring trouble spots that explain most of the caution around buying used. The first and loudest is transmissions. Infiniti, like Nissan, used a mix of automatics, dual clutches, and CVTs, continuously variable transmissions, across its range, and some of those systems have a track record of early problems. CVTs in particular have been blamed for hesitation, overheating, and premature wear on several Infiniti models and model years. Repairs or replacements, depending on severity, can run into the thousands. You don't need to panic about every CVT-equipped Infiniti, but you should treat the transmission like the expensive organ it is. Check for a service history of fluid changes, listen for juddering or hunting at low speeds, and insist on a long test drive that includes freeway merges and slow parking lot starts. If a seller shrugs and says it's fine, that's not good enough, get it checked. Engines deserve careful attention too. Infiniti historically relied on several very capable V6 engines, the VQ family, for example, that are powerful and, when maintained, can run a long time. Still, some generations have particular weaknesses. Older G-Series and certain mid-2000s engines developed oil leaks from valve cover gaskets, and in some cases, a reputation for oil consumption due to worn piston rings. Smaller, modern turbocharged engines introduced in later years bring their own concerns. Nissan's variable compression VC turbo, found in some QX50 and QX55 models, was recently the subject of a large recall tied to potential bearing failures that can lead to engine damage. That recall is real and recent enough that any buyer should check whether the VIN is affected and whether the required dealer work has been completed. It could mean a free repair, or at least an inspection that prevents catastrophe. Bottom line, know the engine in the car you're buying, learn the specific weak points by year, and verify service and recall completion before you sign. Electrical and electronics issues are the kind of annoying and sometimes costly things that make a used luxury car feel less luxurious. Touch screens that go wonky, sensors that throw intermittent warnings, parking assist systems that misbehave, and aging infotainment modules turning into temperamental paperweights. These are frequent gripe points in owner forums and independent repair shops. They rarely leave you stranded the way a seized transmission or blown engine can, but they chip away at ownership happiness and can be surprisingly expensive to fix if a control module needs replacement. If the car has a lot of tech, adaptive cruise, lane assist, 360-degree cameras, verify everything works. A fully functional electronics suite is worth paying a bit extra for. A half-working one is a bargaining point. Depreciation is another stark, unavoidable truth. For example, the Infiniti Q50 started at around $43,050 MSRP in 2024. Yet, used models of the same car from 2018 can be found for around $14,000 today. That's a decline of more than 65% over 6 years. Many other Infiniti models lose 45 to 55% of their value within 5 years, faster than rivals like Lexus or Acura. That's great if you're buying used and want a premium feel without the premium price, but very painful if you plan to resell. Always check updated prices on sites like Kelley Blue Book or Edmunds to avoid overpaying for a rapidly depreciating model. So how do you navigate all of this? There are practical, repeatable steps that turn a risky used Infiniti purchase into a smart one. First, do your homework on the specific model year. Not all years are impressive. For example, later QX60 models, after a certain refresh, tended to be more reliable than the early ones that came with teething transmission problems, and some Q50 model years were notorious for valve body and TCU issues that were largely addressed in subsequent updates. Second, demand full service records. A well-cared-for Infiniti with documented oil and transmission service history will likely outlive an equivalent car with no paperwork. Third, check recall status. Manufacturers often issue recalls for major safety items, and many of those repairs are performed free of charge at dealers. Recent engine bearing recalls for certain VC turbo engines are an example where a check could save you from buying a known problem car or at least get you a free fix. Get a pre-purchase inspection by a mechanic who knows Nissan or Infiniti cars. This cannot be overstated. A trained eye will catch telltale signs. Dampness around valve covers that hints at gasket leaks, oil staining that suggests consumption, a transmission fluid smell that whispers overheated, or aftermarket wiring that indicates previous electrical surgery. Mechanics familiar with Infiniti-specific failures, CVT quirks, VQ series oil leaks, early direct injection carbon buildup in some engines, will spot things a generalist might miss. The inspection is worth its cost even if the seller offers a warranty. Warranties often have exclusions and can be a hassle to use. Make the ownership math before you buy. Ask yourself whether you're comfortable doing small repairs yourself or with a trusted independent shop, and whether you've budgeted for the kinds of larger jobs Infiniti sometimes needs. The average annual repair cost data tells part of the story. You can expect a certain baseline of normal maintenance, but also remember the rare but expensive issues like transmission replacement or a head gasket or engine rebuild. That's why many buyers target Infinitis with solid service histories and slightly higher asking prices. Paying more upfront for a maintained example often saves money and grief later. On the model front, some honest guidance. Older G-Series cars, G35 and G37, can be delightful used driver cars if they've been maintained. They're mechanically simple by today's standards and have parts and community knowledge in abundance. Their weak points are mostly age-related, oil leaks, worn suspension parts, and the occasional sensor failure. The Q50 sedan is fun and capable, but had certain mid-decade years where transmissions and electronics were more fragile. If you find a Q50 from those years, see proof that the valve body and TCU work was completed and ask about shifting behavior on the test drive. The QX60 is a sensible family crossover with generous space, but earlier models had more transmission reports than later refreshed ones. Buying a 2016 or newer QX60 with a good service record is generally safer than an early generation example. About large SUVs, the QX80 is a decent value compared with full-size luxury competitors, but can be costly to operate due to its size and parts costs. These are general patterns, not iron laws. Always check the specific VIN and service history. Negotiation tactics with Infiniti sellers are straightforward. Use known issues as leverage. If the car has high miles and no recent transmission service, use that to lower the price. If the infotainment system has glitches, factor a repair estimate into your offer. And never be shy about walking away. Because Infinitis depreciate more than some rivals, there are often plenty of similar listings. If one car seems like a gamble, another nearly identical example might be better cared for and worth the extra few $100s. Finally, think long-term about parts and servicing. Infiniti dealerships exist in many markets, but independent mechanics who know the Nissan or Infiniti ecosystem can often do quality work for less. Parts availability is generally good because Infiniti shares many components with Nissan, but there are Infiniti-specific items, higher-grade interior trims, certain electronics modules, luxury-specific trim pieces, that remain pricier than mainstream parts. If you're mechanically inclined, a well-chosen Infiniti can be a fine, fun, and cost-effective car to maintain. If you need absolute low-cost ownership or plan to keep a car for decades, a mainstream brand with lower parts costs might be a better fit. To wrap this up, used Infiniti cars are a mixed bag in the most useful way possible. They can deliver a near-luxury experience for a buyer who values comfort, performance, and a refined cabin without paying German prices. They can also surprise you with expensive repairs if you skip the homework. The single best rule of thumb is simple. Treat a used Infiniti like a premium used car, not like a bargain basement commuter. Check service records, verify recall repairs, get a pro inspection, drive it thoroughly, and keep the buying price realistic relative to known weak spots. Do that, and you'll often end up with a car that feels more expensive than it was, which, after all, is why many buyers choose Infiniti in the first place. If you found the video useful, be sure to hit the like button to support us. Thank you.